Hey everybody, how are you? Fernando Lopez here with the Daily Freedom Podcast. Today I'm super excited because I'm going to be chatting with Jefferson J. He's the CEO of The Good Vibe. And we're going to be talking about some topics that are very important for art, for culture, and for the future of our communities. Jefferson, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. Wonderful to be here with you.
Awesome. I want to chat with you. We met a few days ago at OB Networking, and what your mission was really struck me as something important to bring into awareness with people, specifically people that are in the industry of film, of acting, of funding projects. Will you please share a little bit about your vision, your mission, and what types of folks do you want to empower in an industry that has been almost the same for decades?
Had the great fortune of working with a group of actors with disabilities. I'd been in education, substitute teaching, special education, led to a job doing music therapy with a group of adults who had disabilities. It went awesome. We had great chemistry, and they said, "Would you like to write and direct the holiday musical?" I had this high school theater background. I jumped at the opportunity, and it changed the lives of the people who worked on the show, myself as much as anyone. There were actors who came in and auditioned who had never been in a show before, who by the time they were done with our little production of The Hunt for the Great Christmas Tree, it was called at the time, now it's called The Hunt for the Holiday Spirit, who were the leads in big productions that are done here in town with casts of actors who have disabilities. One of them played Shrek in Shrek. He had never been in any shows before. He auditioned for me, and my whole cast was filled with incredibly talented people who have been not given the opportunities that other people have. There are no shows in the history of television streaming with a full cast of actors who have disabilities. I'm not talking about reality shows or things like that, just scripted productions. There's never been one. And authentic representation in the media is a very important issue right now. We take our cues for who exists and what their perspectives are by seeing them, by watching them on our favorite shows. When we see people, then we know they exist and we become comfortable with them and we feel like we know them in a way that we don't if we don't see them. Then they just seem like people you don't understand and don't know because you don't maybe have the experience with them. I think a lot of people who do have close personal experiences with people with disabilities, there's over 1 billion people who identify as disabled at this point in the world right now, with all the things that continue to go on. It's a very complicated world we live in, and I think by showing what people are capable of, what people can do, allowing people their chance to tell a story that gives them the chance to participate in the conversation. And there's a lot to learn. I learned a lot from working on what is now an animated series called The Hunt for the Holiday Spirit. We have samples. We're still working with a lot of the same actors now as voice actors. And I wrote 24 episodes. I directed 4 on stage in El Cajon at the day center I was working at before deciding that this is something that needed to be shared with the world. And it's been a wonderful, thrilling experience. And I can't wait to get back to working in person with my actors on our show and making season 1 and finally providing a program for people with disabilities to call their own, and for the rest of the world, for families to experience what we experienced when we made the show for our audience back in 2014.
Wow. It's been what now, 9 years.
9 years since we innocently decided to do a little theater project. And like I said, we did 4 for 4 years, all different episodes, same characters. And it's just very thrilling, and I'm excited. There's a lot of work to build a company and to make animation is expensive, to raise money and build samples that are on YouTube. People can look for The Hunt for the Holiday Spirit. Our theme song, first scene, has 70,000 views. So some people have seen some of it.
That's a lot of views. Let's say it's 10 years in the future and your vision has been completely come to pass the way you imagined. What do you think the impact will be in the community of people, the 1 billion people that you just brought awareness to me. I didn't know it was that many people.
I think naturally they'll feel a lot of pride. I think whenever I mean, that's what the whole premise kind of the Olympics is. We have all these people we don't know. And the Special Olympics is even a more apt parallel for what we're doing. But just look at the Olympics, people don't necessarily follow track and field or curling or judo or whatever they have in the Olympics. But if your countryman, you're someone you feel related to, does well, that makes you feel good. Or if someone from another country does some exceptional thing, like Usain Bolt was the fastest human, made people feel like, hey, we can run even faster than we thought. We're all part of this together. It unites people to see people thriving. So I think the disabled community, the community of people with disabilities, is going to feel embraced, because I think people are going to love the show. I think they're going to feel part of, like, how many Spider-Man shows are there and how many have there been? Like hundreds? Well, there's no reason there couldn't be a Spider-Man show where all the actors had disabilities. And that could be part of the plot of the story, or it could not be part of the plot of the story. It could just be actors with disabilities bringing these characters to life. It's harder to get discovered. It's harder in so many ways. But we can break those walls down and not look at them as problems, but look at them as just a whole nother group of people who now get to participate in mainstream media, where people learn about other people. The news, they call it. What's happening? It's in the news. If you read stories about people with disabilities in the news, a lot of times it's them getting discriminated against. A lot of times it's problems that people had. We need to bring up some of the positive stories, because they're real and they're going to make people feel good and included. Inclusivity really is what it's all about. And where we take our cues from the media, people seeing us and listening to us, is how we learn what is happening in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Embrace and inclusivity. What do you think will happen to employment?
Well, I would think if our show is successful and given the opportunity, I think a lot more people with disabilities will get more opportunities, because that's how it's a bit of a copycat business. A lot of things are, it's understandable. Something successful, more people want to do it. And I think ultimately, being forward thinking, I want to make sure that, say our show does well and our actors are successful actors, that they are looked out for in certain ways. There are a lot of people with disabilities get benefits, and you can lose your benefits if you do well. It's complicated to work if you're disabled in a lot of ways. Some reasons are obvious, and other reasons are you can be paid less than minimum wage. If you make above a certain amount, then you could lose your disability money, which you may, or Social Security, I believe. There's a lot to learn about this for me down the road, but it's on my mind. And I want to be forward thinking and make sure that everyone's looked out for, Yeah. I would hate for it to ever accidentally be a misfortune for people to become well known, because there's opportunistic people out there. And I care deeply about the people I worked with, and I care deeply about this cause, and how it's going to affect employment is honestly an unknown. And it's something that does need to be considered in advance. So systems can be in place to make sure that, that everyone is okay. How many people win the lottery? Now they have $1 million, and then they have problems, all kinds of problems, or $1 billion or whatever. So we have to make sure that people are looked out for, and that there's no penalties for being successful and disabled, that there's no, capitalism should apply. If that's our system, which it is, it should apply to everybody. There should be no limits or penalties or below certain levels that are okay. That's my opinion. Not exactly what I came here to talk about, but it's very important to keep these things in the front of our minds.
Yeah, absolutely. If we are aware of, the more we are aware of possible obstacles,
Yeah,
the better we can plan and prepare.
it's very important.
It's good to learn from mistakes. It's better to learn from other people's mistakes if we can.
Yep. And to just like lead with care and, not just so we make a show and now we have the show. So this ultimately, my big vision for this, and I don't talk about this a lot because there's so many steps to it, but this began as a curriculum of sorts for my actors. And it helped a lot of them grow and maybe come out of their shells or blossom their talents. And I would love it if it eventually returns to that. And day centers and places where people live, residential areas, or children in standard classrooms get to bring these characters to life again. And now, as opposed to new characters that I've created, these characters who are beloved and their favorite holiday season shows, right up there with the Rudolphs and the Frosties of the world, they get to be their favorite characters and learn to act and get these experiences of their confidence blossoming and their personalities coming out. That's what it came from. And that ultimately, I would love to return it to these communities, all the communities who love the show at that time. And I don't think there's been anything like that before. Not that I know of.
Yeah, I can see this being very successful. And you talked a little bit about or you just mentioned the main reason. I was going to ask you, what's your why? What's your
Yeah.
drive of doing this? So you talked a little bit about it just now. Is there anything else that
My spirit was lifted, holiday spirit, my spirit was lifted every second that I walked into St. Madeline's Sophie Center, which was the place that I worked and did these plays and did music therapy. And I saw that same feeling on a lot of my colleagues' faces, some of whom had challenging jobs at this place. And the people who I worked with were so happy to see me and so able to express that joy and no inhibitions, and it moved me then every minute. Maybe I'd get to work, I was a half an hour away. Maybe I'm a little bit got things on my mind, that are stressful. A lot of the people I knew there didn't have these same hangups that I did. Did they have problems of sorts? Certainly. We all do. But the way that they were able to smile and be in the moment and be grateful and share that gratitude and bring joy, that in a way that it brought out my joy. And that's what I felt every time I was there. I'd go to a different room and sometimes they would applaud or just, explode with joy. And it was as mutual as it can be. So to get back to doing this, which again, a lot of work on the business side and the pandemic has resulted in not a tremendous amount of getting to work hands-on with people and developing their skills and having fun doing the work, sharing new experiences with them, which voice acting is for a lot of these guys. Even with their acting experience, voice acting is a little different. And it's fun. You don't have to memorize the lines. There's no pressure as much. We can take our time and have some fun. So I have done some, and it's been great. And that's really what it's all about. So I got a whole new perspective for life working there, regardless of this show.
Mm.
And that's a perspective that is not present in the media. That experience that I've experienced, that a lot of other people I know who work in this industry or who have people in their families, maybe with autism or neurodiversity or any other number of things, too many to list. It's just such a blessing to feel so refreshed and to have such genuine joy that comes and goes back and forth so naturally and easily. And I believe even through the way my actors bring their characters to life, this is shared. It's tangible. You can feel it. You know what I mean? And because that's what they're bringing to the character. And it's something that, so sometimes we say the world is whole when all voices are heard.
Mm.
This perspective that I'm discussing, that is the main thing I got out of my years working at St. Madeline Sophie Center and the other work I've done at other different places of a similar type. That's the main thing I got out of it, is this like connection. It's still like alive in me, and I miss so many of the people that I don't see anymore and think about them. And I think that's not in the media, and it can be. It should be, and ideally it will be. And I think the whole world will be better off. How many upsetting things are there everywhere? Right? Heartbreaking, upsetting things that we get used to, or that we internalize, pretend we're used to, but we hold it in our shoulders, our chest, comes out in some conversation. Maybe we're driving and, I didn't have that experience when I went to St. Mal and Sophie Center every day. A lot of these people are struggling. A lot of these people, like the people who are there, a lot of them have severe disabilities. Maybe they can't speak, or whatever, lots of other things. But some of those same people could communicate to me what their favorite song was. Blue Moon was one, and I would play Blue Moon as my music therapy job, and happiest guy in the whole wide world. So happy. And then I'm so happy. And this is my job. So I stayed there for a long time. And there's time to take this to the rest of the world. Why is this not known by everybody, Because our experience has been limited. And not everybody gets to participate in full life, which is our screens, which is exactly how we're connecting this message with you right now. This way, without this, that's us. That's what we got.
Yeah. What have been some of the obstacles that have been standing in the way of you bringing this to full life 100%?
I'd say the two main ones are, the three main ones. One's money. It's always money. If we had $2 million, we could make season 1, 8 episodes that are already, the skeletons for the episodes are written, the art is done. The actors we already know, we could supplement. So we could make season 1 with a professional top animation studio and our top animator, Andres Cortez, who now works with all the top studios, who worked on our work here for years. We could make it ourselves and then get into distribution. We've started a nonprofit called Everybody One to advance our cause, the cause that is the show is part of, but there's a larger issues, beyond what a show can do and that we believe need to be done. Advocacy, disability rights, authentic representation in the media. Another thing that could happen is thing that's been an impediment is I'm in San Diego. We're in San Diego, Ocean Beach, not in Los Angeles. I don't know people at Netflix or Disney. We do have a production company we work with who's trying to, make connections for us, but we're not connected directly to the people in Hollywood. So I don't have any pitch meetings yet, We're getting closer. Right now, the industry is in a standstill. That's another issue, So those are, and the third one is the main thing we've been talking about this whole time, is there's still a huge part of the population that does not believe that actors with disabilities are capable of carrying an entire show with their talents. I know this for so many reasons. First of all, it's never been done before. Why? Second of all, sometimes I'll show people back in my studio some of the videos of the actual plays, and they'll see our actors acting and doing an amazing job. And they'll say, even though we've already been talking for half an hour or longer, and even though they're kind, intelligent people, they'll say, well, that guy doesn't have disabilities. And the reason they say that is because he's so good. See the gulf between where we are and where we need to be, literally, they just don't even believe it, even when they're looking at it. Even though, and I've explained the whole thing. And these are not hateful people. They're people who've lived 40, 50 years and they've never seen anything like this before because no one has invested in it. No one has deemed it important. People, money, always. Connections in Hollywood, overcoming the fact that people just can't believe it's possible or that they can do it, really. It's really a bit of a dismissiveness to people with disabilities that has become far too normalized and accepted. And now there's a lot of major companies who have ad campaigns that feature inclusivity. Inclusivity, diversity, and equality are buzzwords throughout corporate America. Who wants to lead? Who wants to? Jackie Robinson was the first African-American baseball player. His number 42 is retired across Major League Baseball. There's movies about it. But Branch Rickey in the movies, the Brooklyn Dodgers president, was the person who had the vision and made it happen. Somebody had to see the bigger picture, and somebody with the gatekeeper powers, the power to decide, had to make that decision. And then a lot of other people had to go along with it. Jackie's teammates, so on and so forth. So in this metaphor, I'm on the team. Maybe I'm Jackie's manager. I believe that was Walter Alston. I could be wrong about that. But maybe I'm Jackie's manager, and the team is my team. And they're Jackie in this situation. But we're looking for Branch Rickey. We're looking for the person or the entity who sees us as important as we do, who sees now as the only acceptable time for this development to occur, where everybody gets to participate in access to people's hearts and minds, in their awareness. Because until then, we just stay like this. Lots of bad news. No problem finding bad news. It's everywhere. What about inclusivity for real? What about good news? What about an uplifting story? Is that something people are interested in? I believe it is.
Yeah, I believe so too. Thank you so much, Jefferson, for sharing today. I'm very confident that something real good will come out of this
All right.
conversation. And for those of you watching and listening, if you have felt something move inside in some of the words you've heard today, then who do you know that could be a good contact for Jefferson, who can help either with money, with connections, or with awareness?
Everybody has time, maybe not a lot, but that's another thing to offer, is like all those things you said would be great, but just what you're doing right now, you're offering your time. You invited us here. You're sharing our message. You're making it your own message by doing this. And that's what we need, is more people who care this much. And we all have something to offer. And that really is the message of the whole thing, is that we all have something to offer. You can go to thegoodvibe.com, huntfortheholiday.spirit.com. You'll get there from thegoodvibe.com. See some of the other projects we also work on here in San Diego too, at thegoodvibe.com. We're on YouTube, and you can see our samples, all available from thegoodvibe.com and Hunt for the Holiday Spirit. Our big number is Christmas Tree Don't Want to Be Cut Down. We made the entire sequence of that. It's kind of our showpiece. It's 5 minutes. It's a brilliant job by Augustine Cortez and our actor Bryce Johnson as the tree. And there's a couple other clips. There's our whole 28-minute animatic, which is like a stripped down basic storyboarded version of the entire first episode. If you wanted to see what happens, it's out there. Thank you so much, Fernando. Thank you for watching and listening. Lots of love.
Yeah, and one more question.
Oh, good.
One person, two, or three. Maybe you start with one. If you could work with anyone in the world, invite this person into this project. Anyone in the world, who is the first person that comes to mind?
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because he does everything. He lifts people up. He's a magnetic personality and a great speaker. Cares, obviously. He's succeeded at everything pretty much. He's got a zillion shows. He's irresistible. He's charming, magnetic. He's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yeah.
I like his show, Young Rock. I just am a fan of his. And if he was a fan of ours and wanted to give us some People's Champion rub, that would be spectacular. But the real answer is anybody, everybody, anyone. Do you have a kid or a parent who is involved in what we're talking about? Are you affected in some way personally by this? Do you feel this in your heart? then that's who I want to speak to, just as much as Dwayne The Rock Johnson. But I mean, I think I'd be intimidated by Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I think he'd be taking up this whole space. He'd be probably as big as both of us together, and his head would be probably like this whole much of the space. But I would take my chances meeting that. Hope he wouldn't, cut a promo on me. I don't know if I'd ever recover. Love Dwayne The Rock. Love every single person. I love everyone.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you, Jefferson. It was
Thank
great
you.
chatting with you. And again, there might be some links around here, this video for you to click. Take action. Really run everything you've heard this and you've seen through your intuition and ask yourself, is this the right time? Is this for me? Or who do I know? Ask yourself this question so that we can bring inclusivity, lift people up. And Dwayne, if you're listening, hey, it's an invitation for you too, brother. Have a great day and bye for now.
We did a very good